Final Fantasy X is one of the most popular entries in the series. And then there's its sequel, X-2, released just 2 years later, with a pop concert opening sequence and a heavy focus on magical girl transformations. You know, I played this game for maybe an hour or two and then noped right the hell out of there. The game was just really girly and bubbly and so different than 10. But was I wrong to give up on it so early? Did I jump the gun? I have finally gone back, given it another chance more than a decade after my first time around, and I'll admit, I was a little bit off base with some of my assumptions. While it's true that the game is much more girl power heavy than 10, when we're following around a party made up of just 3 girls, obviously the perspective is going to be a little bit different than the original game. And hey, don't get me wrong either, girl power is awesome and everything, but I've always been more of a Sleater Kinney, a Bikini Kill kind of guy. And 10-2 seems a lot more Spice Girls. That definitely did not appeal to my 20-something-year-old hipster-ass tastes. But now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit more open to playing weird shit like this, you know what? It's actually pretty good. But it is different, and still kind of weird for a Final Fantasy game. I think one of the things that surprised me the most was just how sexualized everything is in the game. And not that I've got a problem with sexy stuff in games either, it's just that with all the revealing outfits, the upskirts, the butt shots, this, whatever this is.
I want to know. I think I do know.
Ah, there!
I'm sorry, what?
It just feels like half of the time the game is going for this super girly and poppy thing. Then the other half of the time it really kind of seems like they're trying to attract an audience of horny teenage boys. It's kind of a weird vibe. I have seen some people make comparisons to Charlie's Angels, which was a pretty popular franchise that was revived in the early 2000s, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu. And yeah, 100%. This has to be what they're going for. The girls even make sure to show off their cool action poses any chance they get, and it's dorky as hell each time. Was Charlie's Angels really that big of a thing at the time? I mean, I was pretty young when the movie came out, but I guess I remember seeing it. I think I saw it with my mom. Girl power. But yeah, I suppose that's kind of another thing that I didn't expect though. Well, at least not in the quantities that we get it here. And that's all of the cringe stuff. Like, I suppose that the game is a little bit self-aware. Some people might call it more campy, but I don't know. The general feelings of the story, it's definitely way less serious than any other kind of Final Fantasy game that I can think of. If I sound like I'm hating though, I'm actually not. I'm just saying it's different. Well, actually, except for Brother. I think I do hate Brother. This guy is annoying as hell, and I know, the game is supposed to have these silly vibes here, but with this Brother character, he's just way too much, and he's like in love with his cousin. I don't know, man, I genuinely think I do hate this guy. And if you're a teenager out there playing this game, well, you better hope your parents don't walk in on you playing it, because I think you'd rather have them walk in on you doing anything else. I think the main thing that I'm getting at here is that for a sequel, this really is a complete 180 in tone when compared to the original game. Usually sequels don't change things up this much. To be fair though, this is the first sequel a Final Fantasy game ever received, and that in itself was kind of a sacrilegious thing at the time. I guess with Sakaguchi out of the picture after the Spirits Within kind of flopped, maybe anything was on the table now. Sequels, spin-offs, really whatever it would take to bring back fans of the best-selling Final Fantasy games. And this era of Square Enix seemed way less concerned about the actual quality of these games that they were putting out. I mean, there is some stuff from that era that I enjoy, like Crisis Core is actually pretty fun, but even that one has like a much smaller scale to it than the game that it stems from. With 10-2, they took Final Fantasy X, one of their better received games that already had a satisfying, if somewhat tragic ending, and then rushed out an unnecessary and lower budget sequel to make back some of that Spirits Within money that they lost. Well, that's how I always used to look at it anyway. But even if there might be some truth to that, I'm just glad that I finally got around to giving this a chance, because I do think the game has a lot more heart than some people give it credit for. myself included there. So let's get into it. Spira has changed a lot since we've seen it last. Sin, this huge threat for thousands of years, has finally been defeated. This, at long last, brings an era of peace to the region. And as we take the reins of Yuna, Riku, and their new friend Pain, we explore Spira in a much more chill way than we explored it last time in 10's crazy-ass death pilgrimage. We revisit locations from the original game, and the game does like to reuse basically any asset that it can get its hands on, but this time around, there is an airship that we can use from the get-go. So the game encourages you to freely explore Spira pretty much however you want. If you want to go catch up with some of the old party members, well, you can go do that. If you want to find some side quests or maybe get lost in a weird minigame for a while, there's that too. The game has a very leisurely feel to it, and I think that's pretty cool. But at the same time, it does punish you for not doing certain things in a very specific order, and if you're trying to see everything anyway, it's really easy to mess that up. So I think that's a lot less cool. The game is segmented into 5 chapters where you can go through all the locations and check things out however you want, but there is usually a specific story destination that you can head to that will advance you onto the next chapter. And like I'm saying, everything else you do is optional, but you'd be missing out on pretty much all of the additional character moments, and you'd probably fall behind really bad in levels, so I don't even know if it's really possible to just do a main story only run. And not only that, but it would feel extremely short, as the main story sections, they're about the same size as the regular side quests and stuff. On the flip side, if you really want to be thorough, you almost have to revisit every single location in each chapter and talk to every single person. Even the most basic of NPCs change up their dialogue from chapter to chapter, which does help the world feel a lot more alive than you can find like from the static NPCs of some RPGs. Those side quests, they can be pretty fun though, and they are also completely voice acted as well, with pretty good directing and everything as well. There's a lot going on in Spira. For example, there is some feuding going along amongst the new political factions that are growing up after the Yevon religion kind of fell apart from the events of 10. There's the new Yevon group who I guess aren't quite ready to move on from the past, but they totally aren't into the Yevon part of the religion stuff anymore. They just like those old school traditions, and these guys are at conflict with the Youth League, who are made up of former Crusaders. Remember those Chocobo Knights in 10? Those were some Crusaders. Those guys were cool. Both factions have new hot leader guys to fall in love with, and I think maybe that's the main point of these groups. Barrelai and Nuge, and I mean, out of these two, I'm gonna go Team Nuge all day. Nuge seems to have way more of a cooler personality, and he kind of serves as this game's grumpy badass type thing. Kind of like an Orin, but I don't know how old Nuge is. I guess probably 30. The third main faction that you'll be running into is the Albed Machine faction that is led by this guy Gipple. The Albed are trying to help people of Spira grow more comfortable with all the machina in a post-Sin world. Their cause seems a lot more neutral than whatever's going on with the new Yevon and Youth League stuff. And Gipple, I kind of like this guy too, but I could have used more out of Gipple and Nuge and Barrelai. All three seem connected to Pain, our new emo girl, and as you do play the game, you will learn a little bit about how they used to work together in the past, but I think I could have used a little bit more. Outside of the drama with the new groups, though, we catch up with old friends like Waka and Lulu and Besed, and it's weird, but they're a couple now. I think that's an odd pairing because the two really didn't seem to have any chemistry in 10, but whatever. The new scenes are pretty cute. I'll just leave it there. I don't want to go too deep into that stuff. But we also catch up with Kimari, who is now like top Ronzo. It's pretty cool to see how the Ronzo are doing after the events of 10. Seemed like pretty grim. They're doing good though. A couple little Ronzo get lost and you gotta go look for them. There's this one big Ronzo guy who thinks Kimari sucks even though totally saved the world. Gotta go help out with that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy to see here. The Guado are still out there, and they have some regrets about, all that Seymour stuff. But again, nothing too crazy going on with these guys either. The stakes seem pretty damn low at first, and the villains of these first couple chapters are almost like Team Rocket level of stupid. Let's go back to that pop concert in the beginning, right? So that wasn't actually Yuna. Rather, it was LeBlanc, this rival sphere hunter in disguise, performing a concert as Yuna so she could, I think, steal a sphere. LeBlanc is sassy and sexy, but super annoying, and her Saturday morning cartoon henchmen, they keep messing around with YRP, that's Yuna, Riku, Pain, of course, and eventually we kick their asses enough that they will accept their roles as nobodies in this story and then make their way onto the real threat. I do think around the time that the main villain gets introduced to the story, things eventually start feeling much more like your normal, typical Final Fantasy story with a huge, big, world-ending threat to take down. Vegnagun is more of a big-ass machina weapon than a Sin-type creature, but the thing is pretty terrifying, and he has an absolutely amazing design. Since it's mostly a weapon, though, someone needs to be out there to operate this thing, right? That's all I'll say there. Yuna, well, she's trying to become more of her own person as she goes on this journey to hunt down spheres. Oh yeah, so that's what Yuna and Riku do now. They're sphere hunters who travel the world in search of rare spheres. Spheres are interesting. Sometimes they record things, sometimes they have magical abilities. In 10-2, they hold the power of new jobs. Spheres do a lot of things in Spira. Should have called it Sphera. Bad joke. Some of these spheres, though, even hold ancient recorded information, such as the one that sets Yuna off on this whole journey. The sphere shows off a certain someone. Is that Tidus? Certainly looks a lot like him, so Yuna's gonna do just about everything she can to find out more information about her dead boyfriend being maybe not dead? Or what's going on here, because this is an ancient sphere and this is it like a past life kind of thing? There's a lot of questions there to unpack, so finding out more about that is Yuna's main goal here. Then there's Pain. Pain is our edgy, cool new character, kind of like a gender-bent Squall or something. And you know, if Lulu is a real goth who listens to The Cure and writes poetry, Pain is more of a Hot Topic goth who really likes My Chemical Romance and is upset with her stepdad because he won't let her go to the mall. She's still pretty cool though, and her no-nonsense attitude becomes almost hugely necessary given how immature Yuna and Riku can be. Pain does seem to become genuinely pretty close with Yuna and Riku. My main concern with her was going to be, I guess, would she feel a little bit too shoehorned in as a new party member? And outside of the opening moments, I didn't really have those feelings. I do feel like she brings a necessary balance. Riku, though, what have they done with our girl? I'm not gonna lie, she feels really dumbed down from 10. In 10, she's immature in the way that she's like a literal teenager, but her bubbly personality was not exactly like this. She was cheerful, not stupid. I don't completely hate it, but it just feels like she's been designated to this party's comic relief this time around. And I'm thinking here, seriously, I really don't know if I can think of a single serious moment that she had in this game. With only 3 party members, though, this is where the game's dress sphere system comes into play. To make up for the lack of additional party members, the girls can change jobs mid-battle, kind of like how you could swap out party members mid-battle in 10. This plays into the classic Final Fantasy job system from like 3, 5, 11 and 14. You got warriors, mages, thieves, all that standard stuff is here, along with some really cool jobs like samurai and dark knight, beastmaster, which is called trainer, I think, this time around, and even some brand new jobs. There are a total of 17 to master, each with their own abilities to unlock. Each party member can comfortably perform any of the jobs as well, so the game is really open with how you end up building up your characters. Alongside the new job system, you'll also want to spend some time with the garment grids. The jobs that you'll be switching between need to be equipped to one of these grids, and they all come with their own unique properties or abilities. By switching your class, certain grids enhance your stats maybe, or grant access to really strong spells that you wouldn't normally be able to use. Like, for example, pass through this one spot here and you'll get access to curative magic while you'll still be playing as a physical job. It's a pretty cool system, but just make sure that if you're going to be changing jobs a lot, that you go into your menu and either do the short job transformation animations or just turn them off entirely, because they do take quite a while and you'll be seeing them a lot. The combat in 10.2 is still turn-based, but it goes back to the ATB style that you would have found in Final Fantasy 9, 8, 7, and further back. But if you think that 9 was too slow, don't worry, I think this is the fastest that the ATB system has ever been. If it gets too chaotic though, just like in any of the older Final Fantasies with the ATB system, you can set the game to wait mode, in which the characters won't take action when you have a command menu opened up. I really like this battle system. That's one of the things that I've heard the most surrounding the game, that the battle system is one of the best. And for the most part, I agree, it is very solid. And I think the speed feels really good once you get more comfortable with your jobs and know what you're going for. So while the enemies still have elemental weaknesses or resistances to certain spells and all that kind of stuff, because the game is so open to which job you use, I feel like they made this less of a focus than it was in 10, where 10 almost had like a rock, paper, scissors style to the gameplay, whereas if you're not abusing an enemy's weakness, you're not playing the game right. I think in general, I do like this better, but most of the early encounters can be pretty easy to take on because of this reason. And then when things do actually pick up in the late game, assuming you've been engaging with some of the side content, you've probably got enough strong jobs and garment grids to use that most fights will just become a breeze. And because there are so many different jobs to try out, if you actually spend any time trying to master any of them, you'll probably have to grind some AP for a while, which obviously levels you up as well. Just be careful, because I think it's really easy to end up a little bit too overpowered in this game without even trying to. Now, there are a few optional bosses that you can try out if you're looking for some challenge, but the few that I tried, I didn't really enjoy all that much, as these fights can just go on and on. One of them I played for like a whole damn hour. And if you do take on some of those bosses before you go into the main story boss, well, that's only going to make that easier as well. That said, there is this huge multiple level optional dungeon if you really want to go all out. And honestly, breaking the game and getting crazy powerful, I know that can be a plus for some people, and I kind of like it too. Mechanically, the battle system is very solid, and my only real complaint is that every command outside of your standard attack has a casting time. With most abilities, that's not a big thing, but I feel like when it comes to using items and it takes a few seconds for the item to actually come out, with just how fast-paced the game is, chances are you're already dead before you even get that stupid high potion out. Is it the greatest Final Fantasy battle system of all time? I don't know, it's actually up there, but I think I might enjoy a couple others a little bit more. Maybe I'm a little bit more biased towards 7, and the 7 remake stuff is really good. But out of all the games that came out before 10.2, I can definitely see why people would rate this so highly. I'd probably still give the edge to 10 just because that game felt balanced a lot better, but when we're talking about a game with 17 unique classes to try out, it is probably pretty difficult to keep everything perfectly balanced. The combat is awesome though, and I can actually see a lot of people just turning their brains off entirely when it comes to all of the cringe stuff, just because the battle system is so fun. So outside of the main story and all of the random battles, this is a Final Fantasy game filled to the brim with side content. Some of it's fun, some of it sucks, but there is a lot. Definitely more than any previous Final Fantasy game, at least. Minigames have kind of had a big presence, especially in the PlayStation 1 era of Final Fantasy. And, like I said, some of these are fine. Maybe some of them are more fine than others, but, you know, I actually enjoyed this little shooting minigame where you can go on with Yuna and just run around this area and shoot some enemies. That's pretty whatever, but I had a good time with it. And the minigame tournament that's, I guess based around this weird, it's like a coin game where you have to do a little bit of math. Weird rules, but once you do figure it out, it's actually pretty fun. Blitzball, I mean, I wasn't a fan of Blitzball in 10. I'm not a fan of Blitzball in 10 too. The worst offenders though, I mean, probably this minigame in the Thunder Plains where they expect you to have superhuman reaction time. Like, how is it even possible? I get it, I'm kinda old now, but this had me questioning if I need to get my vision checked. Another one that kinda sucked, you have to like repair this robot guy just to see if you can make him stronger, and then you can fight him again, and you can repair him again. The fight was actually pretty cool, but to repair this stupid thing, you have to find a bunch of randomized parts out in the desert. Maybe it was just my trash luck, but I don't know, guys. This one took me hours to get done, and it felt mind-numbingly boring. Speaking of wasting time, unless you want to throw away a lot of hours, this game can almost not be played without a guide. If you want to get that perfect ending... Oh, and there's multiple endings, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But if you do want to get that perfect ending, then you have to do so many unintuitive and weird things, and you'll definitely need that official strategy guide at your side. I'm well aware that that kind of game design was common with retro games. Make stuff confusing as possible, so you have to call a hotline for help. But Final Fantasy games are usually pretty straightforward. But it's not even just the perfect ending that's hidden this way. Many of the side story moments are missable if you don't go to the right location, the right time during a specific chapter. And if you missed it, well, too bad for you. In order to unlock this perfect ending, you'll need to get 100% completion. Following a guide, you might be able to do it, but I think it's pretty clear that the game was designed to be played through a couple of times, and I bet you can breeze through that New Game Plus pretty fast. I haven't tried it out yet, but I actually might, just to check out some of the jobs that I missed the first time around, and maybe go back and check out that endgame dungeon. Oh yeah, I didn't unlock all the jobs, because I wasn't following a guide. And with streaming the game, maybe not the best idea. Even then, I was still having to check where I needed to go pretty frequently. But with all of that work involved, what do you get for that hard-earned 100% completion? Well, there's actually a secret cutscene, and look, I'm not saying what it is, but I think if you played Final Fantasy X, and you've seen the ending of that game, take your best guess. And luckily for those who don't hit the 100%, YouTube's a great alternative. We're on YouTube right now. Hey guys, hit the like button. I'd be really happy if you did that. But yeah. You know, on YouTube, you can just use that little search bar that's right up at the top and just type in Final Fantasy X-2 secret ending. And that's what I did. No regrets. Now, there is also this whole Final Fantasy X-3 audio drama that literally nobody likes. So I probably won't be engaging with that. I kind of like where X-2 leaves off. I still do think it is a bit of an unnecessary game, but you know what? It's still a fun time. And really, if you consider the game for what it is, and try not to compare it to X too much, which is going to be very hard, but try not to, you might still have a good time. X-2 is not what I expected. For one, the vibes are so different. I expected poppy and girly, and it is, but it's also funny. It's also kind of sexy, maybe a little bit too pervy at times, but that works. The game is lighthearted, but the last act does bring in the high stakes and tragic moments that you want to see in a Final Fantasy game. Sure, I probably would have liked more of the later and less of the former, but I like it overall, and the gameplay is genuinely really friggin' good. Here's a take though, I've said this a couple times on my channel, but I think for most people new to Final Fantasy, I think they should start with 10. I think that's a great entry point to this series. The sequel, however, I feel like this one's probably best for the diehards of 10, or maybe a more seasoned Final Fantasy veteran who's okay trying out something that's a little bit different. I think if you were to make this your, well, second Final Fantasy game, I think this one might give you the wrong impression of the series as a whole, but if X-2 was your first Final Fantasy game, well, please drop me a comment about that, because I would love to hear about it. But alright guys, that's probably it for me with this one. Not sure what Final Fantasy game we're gonna do next. Probably the Tactics remake when that comes out. It should be coming out pretty soon, so yeah, later.
Smasherific success! But
Oh,
we
yeah?
mustn't let success go to our heads. No, no, no! We must succeed again once more! Well, do relax and enjoy it. The show, I mean.
I want to shoot Tolby with a rocket launcher. I want to blow his head clean off.